Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Nerdy Multiverse. And finally, another video, and yes, another breakdown. The day that so many of us comic book fans have been waiting for has finally arrived, as the first ever teaser trailer for the Superman movie has been released, giving us a great look at what we should expect to see when the brand new DCU begins. And of course, giving us our first look at our Superman in this universe. So, let's break this thing down. The trailer begins with a few quick shots of some snowy environment that Superman ends up crash landing on. And I know some people have already been making jokes about this, but yes, he is nearly hitting the Yamcha pose here. Anyways though, the next shot is of Superman's alter ego, Clark Kent, making his way through the streets of Metropolis, towering over the citizens and then entering the Daily Planet building. Of course, the Daily Planet is an iconic building and name, and it is the workplace of Clark's and other characters that have been very important throughout his story ever since his debut in comic books. Characters such as Jimmy Olsen, Perry White, and of course, Lois Lane. Now, as Clark heads inside the Daily Planet, it has been pointed out that the cop's newspaper that is standing outside does read something along the lines of the Hammer of Borivia creates havoc downtown. And there is also an image of a gorilla on the newspaper as well. Possibly a hint towards Gorilla Grodd, who has actually already been introduced into the DCU in the Creature Commandos series. And of course, Gorilla Grodd is one of the Flash's most iconic villains, a gorilla with telepathic and mind-controlling abilities. Anyways though, with that part of the trailer touched upon, let's move on to the next bit. This part of the trailer starts off with more shots of Superman after he crash landed, all beaten up and bruised. So that really brings the question, who or what did this to him? Was it something that Lex Luthor did, or was it one of the characters that he ends up fighting in this film? Possibly the kaiju creature that we see, or the mystery character that wears the all-black suit. Anyways though, we do head back to the Daily Planet in the next shot as we see Lois Lane for the first time. We get a few shots of her right here as her and Clark end up locking eyes, clearly building upon that connection that they will inevitably have in this movie and the DCU as a whole. Not too much in this part, so let's move on to the next section of the teaser. We start this part off with a shot of the Kent farm, Clark's home after he arrived on Earth and was taken in by the Kent family. A story that we all know and have seen time and time again. And something that James Gunn has made clear we will not be revisiting in this film. However, here we see Clark talking to Jonathan Kent, his father figure. Now, I have a feeling that this little talk here could be Clark telling Jonathan that it is time to show himself to the world and protect it. Because Clark sort of has that serious look on his face as Jonathan shakes his head in agreement before they hug. We then cut to yet another shot of Superman after the crash landing, as he begins to whistle for something, as a huge gust of snow and wind come flying towards him. This is where we move on to the next part of the trailer.
Krypto. Home. Take me home.
And of course, we start off this part of the trailer with Krypto the Super Dog. Of course, being what Superman whistled for, as he tells him to take him home. Now, honestly, if Superman wasn't enough for you to go see this movie himself, Krypto is definitely going to convince you now, I think. We then cut to a shot of destruction in the city. As debris is about to hit a little kid, Superman flies in fast enough to shield her. This is beautiful and is exactly what we want to see in a Superman movie. A true superhero. And next, we see Lex Luthor on his usual hate watch over Superman, as he flies past Lex's building known as Luthor Corp, which is clearly this universe's version of the comic book counterpart, Lex Corp. Although there may be a reason it's had a name change here. We get another shot of Lex after this as he spins a revolver. Now, I have a feeling that this isn't just a regular gun and could possibly be a gun with kryptonite in it. Anyways though, our next quick shot is of Superman punching out of a glass cage. Now, it seems as if this cage is also surrounded by a huge amount of others. So this is likely going to be somewhere inside of the Luthor Corp building, and Lex is probably holding people or special powered beings to experiment on them and such. Now, this next scene is what really got me. As an area seems in peril, a kid goes out of his way to re-raise the Superman flag and hug it as he calls out Superman's name. This was everything. Superman is already being established as a symbol of hope, and I absolutely love that. And with that, let's move on to the next part of this teaser. This section of the trailer begins with Superman clearly returning from a battle and likely after making a mistake, as the crowd here does not seem very happy with him. The next shot also supports that, as he looks pretty distressed inside of the building, and this building is actually owned by Stag Industries. Stag Industries is owned by a billionaire man known as Simon Stagg, and he is responsible for creating the character of Metamorpho through their genetic engineering. Now, also in this building are a few of the side characters that we will be seeing in this movie. In the main frame is a goofy looking Green Lantern, and trust me, he looks this way on purpose. That is because this is Guy Gardner, quite literally the most obnoxious and silliest Green Lantern ever. Behind him is Kendra Saunders' version of Hawkgirl and Mr. Terrific. And speaking of Hawkgirl, we get another shot of her right after this, as she flies into battle with her mace. Now in the comics, her mace is made of a material known as nth metal, a material from the planet Thanagar that possesses gravity negating abilities and is often seen to enhance the physicality of the user as well. Hawkman and Batman also possess nth metal tools in the comics. We can also see that all of the other heroes in this trailer and their suits, including Hawkgirl, are wearing corporate suits. In particular, Max Lord suits. So their suits will definitely change eventually, likely into more comic inspired ones. In the next shot, we see the kaiju that I mentioned earlier, that Superman does battle in this movie. Now I'm certain that this is going to just be a film original character, as there are no kaijus that really resemble this one from the comics. We can also notice that when it breathes its fire, Superman uses himself as a shield to cover the buildings behind him. Again, another showing of being a real superhero. In the next shot, we see Lois Lane and Superman looking at one another as outside there is a giant pink orb floating in the sky. So clearly that promotional image that we got a while back is actually a scene in this movie. Next shot is, well, Superman and Lois kissing. Again, showing their connection that we have all known ever since they debuted in the comics. Now these next few shots are at a location known as the Fortress of Solitude. Basically, Superman's hideout or headquarters, and the location where he first learned of his origins. Now honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the area where Superman ended up crashing nearby, and this is also where he has Krypto take him. Now here we see Superman holding a robot's hand that is seemingly damaged or dying. This is likely one of the assistant robots that he has, as it even has that blue cape. But specifically, I think that this could very well be Kelex, the caretaker of the Fortress of Solitude. Our next shot is of an alien-looking character that I have seen a lot of people confused about who it is. I've seen people ask if it's Brainiac, but no, this is not Brainiac. This is the character known as Metamorpho. Originally known as Rex Mason, his powers came from a tragic accident, and he has been a part of numerous versions of the Justice League. His powers consist of basically transmuting his body into any element on the periodic table that he wishes. And it seems here, to me, that they went with a similar design to his design from the New 52 comic book era, as he has the sort of swirls around his head. We then get a quick few shots of buildings falling and the news playing as Lex Luthor angrily watches over it. This is the same news station that can be seen on Creature Commandos as well. So we can assume that the GBS is going to be this universe's news anchor. And then the final two shots are of Superman as he lifts some debris, likely from his battle with the kaiju. And then the next shot is of him being carried home by Krypto. Now it's time to touch on the final part of this teaser trailer. This part of the trailer begins with a few shots of the action sequences that we will be seeing in this film. as we see that mystery character dressed in all black, smashing through walls and then battling Superman in a football field. Now, we don't get to see too much of this character up close in this teaser, but there have been other images released of him, and we can see that he has the letter U on his suit. So in my mind, I know I have heard the name Bizarro being thrown around with this character, but with him having the letter U on his suit, in my mind, this leaves it down to two other extremely likely characters. One being Ultraman, an evil version of Superman from a different Earth. Or the more likely option, at least in my opinion, being Ulysses, who is practically Earth's version of Superman. And he also dons a fully black suit in the comics quite often. Now, the next shot is of Mr. Terrific, walking in front of hostile soldiers and putting up a force field to protect a few people. Now, Mr. Terrific is one of the smartest characters in all of DC. He is right up there with the likes of Batman, to be honest. His intelligence and his access to technology are his main superpowers, you could say. He created something known as the T-Sphere, which responds to any vocal commands that he gives, which is likely where that force field is coming from in that shot. I also want to point out that the soldiers attacking them in that shot are wearing green and purple suits, very similar to Lex Luthor's soldiers in the comics, as well as his own suits. We then get a shot directly from the comic books, as Superman flies up with Lois Lane as they kiss. The next shot is of Superman flying through a ball of fire, likely from the kaiju, and then blasting off into the sky. And our final shot of this teaser trailer is Lois Lane and Superman holding hands as they look out of the window at that floating orb in the sky, whatever it may be. And there it is, our first ever look at the brand new Superman movie. My only complaint is that the movie is in 7 months, on July 11th. I don't think I can wait that long to see this movie because it looks incredible in my opinion. Anyways though, I'm going to leave it there for now. I personally absolutely loved this trailer, and it has brought that superhero spark back. But I would like to know your thoughts on it as well, regardless of how you feel about it. So make sure to leave them down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed our breakdown on the teaser trailer, feel free to give it a like. And with that being said, we will see you all the next time that we go through and explore the nerdy multiverse.